James Van Praagh is an American author, producer and television personality who describes himself as a clairvoyant and spiritual medium. He has written numerous books, including the New York Times bestseller Talking to Heaven. He co-executive produced the CBS primetime series Ghost Whisperer, which he claims was based on his life, and was portrayed by Ted Danson in the 2002 semi-biographical miniseries Living with the Dead. He hosted a short-lived paranormal talk show called Beyond with James Van Praagh. Early life. Van Praagh was born in Bayside, New York and is the youngest of 4 children. He has said that from an early age he experienced spiritual phenomena, including one when as an 8-year-old praying to God a glowing open hand appeared through his ceiling, an experience he described as peaceful. Raised Roman Catholic, he was an altar boy and at the age of 14 he attended pre-seminary. According to his website, he lost interest in organized religion and left the seminary after he claims a spirit whispered to him, "God is much bigger than these 4 walls. You must leave and find God outside in the world." His mother, Jean, died in 1985, and Van Praagh claims she visits and guides him frequently. He graduated from San Francisco State University, where he majored in broadcasting and communications, and subsequently moved to Los Angeles. It was there that he discovered a direct interest in spiritualism after visiting medium Brian Hurst, who upon meeting Van Praagh told him that he's a medium and that the spirit world would assist him in changing the consciousness of the planet. Career. Van Praagh began his early career by giving private readings for clients by allegedly communicating with the spirits of their dearly departed, and quickly graduated to wider audiences through the sale and distribution of a series of audio tapes and books. In the early 1990s he began appearing on the NBC paranormal talk show The Other Side, where he became a resident expert. Van Praagh credits an appearance on Larry King Live in 1997 to promote his new book, Talking to Heaven, for his gaining worldwide exposure. The book went from 6,000 copies to 600,000 copies in less than 3 months. He said he has featured on The Oprah Winfrey Show, Larry King Live, Drive, Phil and Amp.He's biography, Nightline, Unsolved Mysteries, The View, The Joy Behar Show, Today, Chelsea Lately, and Coast to Coast. He worked with a non-profit called the Compassionate Friends, an organization for people who lost children or siblings. He is also a regular blogger for the Huffington Post. Van Praagh's work centers on his belief that there is no death and that people who have died still exist, only in a different form. Van Praagh claims these spirits help guide him, and that they have told him there are many levels of heaven and we get to that level we have created by our thoughts, words and deeds while on earth. Author Van Praagh has written numerous books that have been translated into multiple languages and sold in the millions. His 1999 book, Talking to Heaven, which recounts stories about his contact with the deceased, held the top slot on the New York Times bestseller list for weeks. In 2009 he released Ghosts Among Us, which goes into detail about ghosts and the spirit world. His 2011 book, Growing Up in Heaven, The Eternal Connection Between Parent and Child, gives a detailed portrayal of what he claims happens to the souls of children after they die. Living with the Dead. In April 2002, CBS aired Living with the Dead, a 4-hour miniseries based on Van Praagh and directed by Stephen Gyllenhaal, with the screenplay by John Peel-Meyer. Although the series followed Van Praagh's experiences, it included a fictional mystery around the murder of a teenage boy at the hands of a serial killer. Van Praagh was played by Ted Danson, his mother by Diane Ladd and his father by Jack Palance. Danson received praise from outlets like the Chicago Tribune and People for his portrayal of Van Praagh as a man anguished by his lifelong visions of the dead, including his mother. Beyond with James Van Praagh. During the success of the paranormal television show Crossing Over with John Edward in the early 2000s, Van Praagh and Tribune Entertainment launched Beyond with James Van Praagh, a short-life paranormal talk show that aired on the WB network from September 2002 until January 2003. Beyond followed similar format as Crossing Over, with Van Praagh giving audience members and celebrities readings, as well as field investigations into crimes and missing persons. Talking with the Dead. CBS aired Talking with the Dead, a thriller based on Van Praagh's experiences and directed by Stephen Kay, on October 24, 2004. He produced and starred in the film as Emily Parks, a woman who receives an antique engagement ring from her fiancé and begins to have visions of its murdered previous owner. The made-for-TV movie also starred Eva Longoria, Christopher Guest and Chris Sarandon. Ghost Whisperer. Van Praagh served as co-executive producer on the CBS show Ghost Whisperer, which starred Jennifer Love Hewitt. Ghost Whisperer was based on the work and experiences of Van Praagh and ran for 5 seasons from September 23, 2005 to May 21, 2010 on CBS. Skepticism. There have been several prominent skeptics of the paranormal who have questioned Van Praagh's abilities. The James Randi Educational Foundation made a public offer to Van Praagh through the Huffington Post to take the JREF $1 million paranormal challenge to test his psychic abilities. According to James Randi, James Van Praagh and Alison Dubois have turned the hucksterato of cold reading into a multi-million-dollar industry, preying on families' deepest fears and regrets. Quote, Van Praagh has not accepted the challenges of January 2015. In 2008, Barbara Walters called Van Praagh dangerous when, after he told her privately that she had an elevated white blood cell count, test results showed no blood abnormalities. Hot reading. Paranormal investigator Joe Nickel believes Van Praagh uses tactics like hot reading or gleaning information from sitters beforehand. Group readings improve the odds that at least one person in the audience will identify with a general statement made with conviction. Shows are edited before airing to show only what appear to be hits and removing anything that does not reflect well on the medium. In 2003, the Independent Investigations Group attended a taping of Van Praagh's talk show Beyond. According to the IIG, there were differences between the live segments and how they were edited for broadcast. In one of the live shows they witnessed, Van Praagh was signing books and chatted with a woman who was from Italy. During the taping he asked if there was someone from another country, and the same woman raised her hand, which to the investigators was evidence of a hot reading. In Skeptic magazine, Michael Shermer stated that Van Praagh was caught using a hot reading technique on 2020s, and that numerous television producers have confirmed that Van Praagh uses hot reading techniques. Shermer quotes producer Leah Haynes as stating, I can't say I think James Van Praagh is a total fraud, because he came up with things I hadn't told him, but there were moments on the show when he appeared to be coming up with fresh information that he got from me and other researchers earlier on. For example, I recall him asking about the profession of the deceased loved one of our guests, and I told him he was a fireman. Then, when the show began, he said something to the effect, I see a uniform. Was he a policeman or fireman, please? Everyone was stunned, but he got that directly from me. Personal life. Van Praagh is married to his partner, whom he began dating in 1995. Selected bibliography. Praagh, James Van. Adventures of the Soul, Journeys Through the Physical and Spiritual Dimensions, California, He House Inc. ISBN 978-10-4019-4470-4. Praagh, James Van. The Soul's Journey Lesson Cards, 44 Cards and Guide, California, He House Inc. ISBN 978-10-4019-44711. Praagh, James Van. How to Heal a Grieving Heart, California, He House Inc. ISBN 978-10-4019-43363. Praagh, James Van. Talking to Heaven Mediumship Cards, California, He House Inc. ISBN 978-10-4019-42618. Praagh, James Van. Growing Up in Heaven, The Eternal Connection Between Parent and Child, New York, Harper Own. ISBN 978-006-2024633. Praagh, James Van. Ghosts Among Us, Uncovering the Truth About the Other Side, New York, Harper Own. ISBN 006-155338-7. Praagh, James Van. Unfinished Business, What the Dead Can Teach Us About Life, New York, Harper Own. ISBN 006-17781441. Praagh, with James Van. Meditations with James Van Praagh, New York, Simon & Amp, Schuster. ISBN 0-7432-2943-6. Praagh, James Van. Looking Beyond, A Teen's Guide to the Spiritual World, New York, Simon & Amp, Schuster. ISBN 0-7432-29428. Praagh, James Van. Heaven and Earth, Making the Psychic Connection, New York, Pocket Books. ISBN 0-7432-27263. Praagh, James Van. Healing Grief, A Reclaiming Life After Any Loss, New York, New American Library. ISBN 0-451-201698. Praagh, James Van. Talking to Heaven, A Medium's Message of Life After Death, New York, Penguin Group. ISBN 0-451-191722. Praagh, James Van. Reaching to Heaven, A Spiritual Journey Through Life and Death, New York, Dutton. ISBN 0-525-944818.